Okay, so imagine this. You're wandering through a city where time just kind of slows down. You're seeing these amazing medieval buildings, maybe like reflections in a canal.
Sounds lovely.
Right. We're diving into Ghent in Belgium today. It's a city that's just, well, steeped in history and has this really unique charm.
Ghent is, yeah, it's a really special place. It might not be the first city people think of for Europe, you know,
Exactly.
but it offers this incredibly rich tapestry of culture and history. It really does.
Totally. And look, this isn't just us gushing about Ghent. We've actually been digging into traveler reviews, expert tips, like real experiences from people who've actually been there to sort of uncover the secrets to a really fantastic, hassle-free visit. Think of this as your insider guide, maybe, how to make the most of it, and crucially, how to steer clear of some common slip-ups.
Right, focusing on what not to do.
Yeah, exactly. Based on what others kind of learned the hard way, perhaps.
That's actually a really practical way to look at it. Sometimes knowing the pitfalls, the potential mistakes, it's just as valuable as knowing the must-see sites, isn't it?
For sure.
It can save you time, definitely money, and maybe a bit of travel stress, too. Lets you, soak up the city's atmosphere properly.
Okay, let's unpack this then, starting with something, well, important to me anyway, food.
Ah, yes.
When you're exploring somewhere new, it's easy to just grab something familiar, right?
Yeah.
But a theme we saw popping up was regret, actually. Regret about not diving into Ghent's local food scene.
Oh, absolutely. That's a real missed opportunity. Belgian food is surprisingly diverse
Yeah.
and really high quality, influenced by France, Germany, the Netherlands.
Yeah.
But it's created something unique.
It's more than just the famous fries and chocolate, then.
Much more. Though, let's be honest, those are pretty great, too.
Ah, true. Okay, so one specific dish kept coming up. Water zoo? I hope I'm saying that right.
Otter yeah.
Sounds good.
What exactly is it for anyone who hasn't heard of it? Well, Waterzooi is this wonderfully comforting Flemish stew. It's quite traditional.
Okay.
Usually features either like tender fish or chicken, simmered in this creamy, flavorful broth with veggies. Often it's enriched with eggs, a bit of cream.
Sounds perfect for a chilly day.
Exactly. It's that kind of dish. Really warms you up. And while you find it elsewhere, Ghent really claims it as like a local specialty.
Right. And apparently there's a place called De Wit Loo. That's supposed to be a good spot for authentic water zoo.
That's the one people often mention, yeah, a go-to spot.
One to note down. Okay, beyond savory stuff, Belgium does have that amazing reputation for sweets.
Oh, definitely. You can't really talk about Belgian food without mentioning the waffles.
Yeah.
Maybe those Liège ones with the caramelized sugar bits.
Yes.
And, of course, the world-class chocolate. Trying those is, well, it's almost essential, isn't it? Kind of a rite of passage for visiting Belgium.
Agreed. Okay, shifting gears a bit. From delicious food to another Belgian icon. Beer. Now, okay, it sounds obvious beer is big in Belgium.
Understatement, maybe.
Yeah. Huh, yeah. But travelers often seem, I don't know, surprised. Caught off guard by how strong it can be.
That's a really good point. A very astute observation. Belgian beers, they can be deceptively strong.
Right.
If you're used to the alcohol levels, the ABV in, say, UK or US beers, often around 4–6% maybe.
Yeah, that sounds about right.
Well, you might be in for a surprise in Ghent. It's really common to see beers in the 6–8% ABV range, and honestly, many fantastic ones go even higher.
We saw one mention specifically the Gency Trapel. That's apparently 8% ABV.
Yep, that's a good example. Strong stuff.
So the takeaway is definitely enjoy the amazing beer, but maybe sip mindfully.
Precisely. It's all about savoring the taste, the whole experience, but responsibly, You don't want to overdo it and then miss out on exploring everything else the city offers.
Good point. But then, on the flip side, while you need to be aware of the strength, another mistake people apparently make is not really embracing the local beer culture at all.
Yes, that would be a real shame. Beer in Belgium isn't just, well, a drink. It's so deeply part of their history, their culture.
How far back does it go?
Oh, ages. Brewing traditions there go back centuries. Some say even back to the Roman era, like 3rd, 4th century AD. It's a huge source of national pride, really important for social life, too.
Wow. So the advice is definitely go find a traditional Belgian bar, sample some local brews.
Absolutely.
And we saw Pub de Dulgriet recommended.
Ah, the Dulgriet. Yes, that's a famous spot. Legendary, really.
Why is that?
Well, they're said to have one of the biggest collections of Belgian beers in Ghent. Maybe the biggest.
Seriously?
Yeah, huge. You can find everything from famous Trappist ales like Achel Donker to maybe some more unique local stuff like Max Beer. Just looking at their menu is an experience in itself.
Okay, sounds like a must-visit then, especially if you like beer. Right, moving from drinks to the sights, Ghent's architecture. What's the general feeling about exploring the historic city center?
It's absolutely essential. Non-negotiable, really. Ghent's historic center is the city's beating heart. It's where you find the highest density of those incredible medieval buildings, the iconic landmarks everyone wants to see.
So just driving past won't do. You need to get out, walk around.
Exactly. The advice we saw consistently points to setting aside like at least half a day just to wander through the historic center on foot.
Half a day, okay.
There's just so much detail, the building fronts, the canals. If you had to pick one standout building, the Belfry of Ghent.
The Belfry. Tell us a bit more about that one. Sounds important.
Oh, it is. It dates back to the early 14th century. It's one of 3 massive medieval towers that really define Ghent's skyline.
Wow.
And get this, it's 298 feet tall. It's about 91 meters. It's actually the tallest belfry in the whole of Belgium.
The tallest, okay.
Yeah. Climbing it gives amazing views, obviously, but even just seeing it from the ground is pretty impressive. A must-see.
Right, so historic center, definitely explore, allow plenty of time. Now, Ghent also gets praise for its public transport. Good trams and buses, right?
Yes, it has an excellent system.
But, surprisingly, one of the mistakes travelers make is relying too much on it.
It's an interesting point, isn't it? And it really highlights something key about Ghent. It's incredibly walkable.
Ah, okay.
So while the buses and trams are great for getting, further out the main tourist spots within the historic center, they're actually quite close together, easily reached on foot.
So jumping on a tram for just a few stops within that central area might actually take longer than walking?
Pretty much, yeah. You can often just wander between the main sites much faster and arguably more enjoyably, just by walking.
Like the Belfry and the castle.
Exactly. We saw, for instance, the Belfry is only about an 8-minute walk from the Gravenstein, the big castle.
8 minutes, okay.
Plus, all that walking saves you money on fares, too.
That's a definite win-win. Okay, another perspective people rave about. Seeing the city from the water. Canal cruises, river trips. Apparently, skipping these is a big mistake.
It really seems to be. Ghent's canals, the River Lye, they offer such a unique view, very picturesque.
Different from just walking along the banks.
Totally different. Being on the boat gives you another perspective entirely. It's also just a really nice, relaxed atmosphere.
And you get to see those famous buildings from a new angle.
Absolutely. As you're floating along, you get these amazing views of the Belfry, St. Bavo's Cathedral, the Gravenstein Castle, often with a guide pointing things out too. It's a fantastic way to soak in that medieval feel from, well, yeah, a completely different viewpoint.
Sounds lovely, actually. Okay, let's talk timing. When to visit? Peak season in Europe usually means summer, right? Warmer weather, festivals maybe?
Yeah, July and August are peak season.
Yeah.
You get warmer weather, definitely, and events like the Ghent Jazz Festival.
Sounds good,
But that's also when you get the biggest crowds. And prices for hotels, flights, everything tend to be higher. Popular spots can get really packed.
Right, which can kind of spoil the vibe sometimes.
It can, yeah. So if you're looking for maybe a slightly quieter trip and one that's a bit easier on the wallet, then the shoulder seasons.
Yeah.
So spring and autumn are definitely worth thinking about seriously.
Okay.
You'll generally find accommodation is more affordable, fewer big crowds jostling around. The weather might be a little more variable, but the upside in terms of cost and just general atmosphere can be pretty significant. We even saw some numbers suggesting the average daily spend could be like over $100 cheaper in shoulder season compared to peak.
Wow, that's a big difference. More money for water zoo and beer.
Exactly.
Which leads nicely to the next point. The weather itself. It seems forgetting to check the forecast is a common slip-up, especially maybe for first-timers to Europe.
It really is crucial. European weather, particularly in spring and autumn, the shoulder seasons we just mentioned, it can change pretty fast.
Like sun 1 minute, rain the next.
Pretty much. You could have a beautiful sunny morning, and then suddenly a shower blows through in the afternoon. It happens.
So packing needs to be versatile. What's the advice for spring and autumn visits, clothing-wise?
Layers. Definitely layers. It's smart to pack warmer clothes you can layer up or down, and definitely include a lightweight waterproof jacket, just in case.
Right.
Spring temperatures, for example, can swing quite a bit. Could be near freezing, could get up into the mid-60s Fahrenheit. And yeah, light rain isn't uncommon. Being ready for different conditions just makes the trip more comfortable.
Makes sense. Okay, let's talk about a specific area. The Paterschol neighborhood. I admit that wasn't top of my mind for Ghent.
Yeah, Patershol is it's this really charming, historically rich little area. It's just north of the main historic center.
Okay.
And because it's slightly off the main tourist drag, it often gets missed. People are focused on, ticking off the big sites.
But that hidden aspect is part of its appeal.
Exactly. It gives it this unique feel. It's quieter.
What's it like? What should people look for?
Imagine, like, narrow, winding cobblestone streets, really old, beautiful buildings. Just a more peaceful vibe than the busy city center. It's great for just wandering, admiring the architecture, finding little cafes or restaurants.
Any specific recommendations there?
We saw mentions of the museum cafe's courtyard being a lovely spot for coffee. And there's the Huisvanne Line Museum there too, which apparently shows what daily life was like in Ghent in the past. Sounds fascinating.
Sounds like a nice little escape within the city. Okay, back to a major attraction. St. Bavo's Cathedral, home of the famous Ghent altarpiece. Is there a bad time to visit?
Well, bad might be strong, but midday is definitely the busiest time.
Right.
St. Bavo's is incredibly popular. It gets over 1 million visitors a year. So if you show up around lunchtime, you're almost guaranteed big crowds, long queues.
Which kind of takes away from seeing something amazing like the altarpiece.
It can, yeah. It diminishes the experience. So the advice is go early. The cathedral opens quite early, around 8:30 a.m. on weekdays and Saturdays.
Yeah.
Getting there then gives you a much better chance of a quieter, less rushed visit.
Good tip. Anything else for the cathedral?
Yeah, another smart tip.
Yeah.
If you want to see the altarpiece and maybe do the augmented reality tour they offer, buy your tickets online beforehand.
Skip the ticket line.
Exactly. Saves time, avoids potential disappointment if slots are full. Just good planning.
Smart. Okay, switching gears slightly again. General safety awareness. The advice is basically don't flash your valuables around.
Yeah, pretty much. Look,
Yeah.
Ghent is generally considered a very safe city,
Okay.
but like any popular tourist spot anywhere in the world, it's not completely immune to things like pickpocketing. So it's just, prudent to be discreet. Meaning like maybe don't leave your expensive phone sitting out on a cafe table. Don't wave wads of cash around. Avoid wearing lots of flashy jewelry in really crowded places. It just makes you less of a potential target, unfortunately.
Are there specific areas where people should be extra careful?
The usual tourist hotspots, really. Places like the Korenmark Square, around the main train station Jensen Peters, and near the Belfry were mentioned as spots where pickpockets might be more active just because of the sheer number of people.
Right. And backpacks.
Yeah, basic stuff. Keep backpacks closed, maybe wear them on your front in really dense crowds. Just being aware of your surroundings and your belongings goes a long way. Simple precautions.
Definitely good advice anywhere, really. Okay, finally, let's talk about getting to Ghent. It doesn't have its own major airport, right? So most people fly into Brussels.
That's right. Usually Brussels Airport, Zaventem, BRU.
And apparently the big mistake, especially cost-wise, is just jumping in a taxi from the airport straight to Ghent.
Oh yeah, that's a costly one. Taking a taxi directly from Brussels Airport to Ghent can really hit your budget hard.
How hard?
We saw estimates ranging from like 120 euro up to maybe 200 euro or 125 to $209 roughly.
Ouch. That is a lot of money. It could pay for quite a few things in Ghent itself.
Absolutely. So what's the better way?
The train. Definitely the train. Brussels Airport has its own train station right underneath the terminal Brussels Airport Zaventem station.
Okay. And there are direct trains straight to Ghent. It's pretty quick too, just under an hour, about 55 minutes.
And the cost compared to the tax?
Way cheaper. A standard single ticket is around $19, maybe $20. So the saving is massive. For a couple, you're easily saving over $100 compared to that taxi fare.
That seems like a very clear choice then. Train it is.
Definitely the smarter option, financially and probably time-wise too.
Well, this whole deep dive into what not to do in Ghent, it's been incredibly useful, I think. It's amazing how just a few key pointers can really help shape a better trip, right?
Absolutely. By knowing about these potential slip-ups, you can avoid them. You can really maximize your time enjoying Ghent, focus on the amazing sights and experiences, and skip some of those common travel frustrations.
Yeah, exactly. So maybe for everyone listening, as you're thinking about your own travels, maybe even planning a trip to Ghent, which of these tips kind of stood out to you? What was the most surprising one? Or what's one thing you'll definitely keep in mind now? Because becoming, a more informed traveler, that really does make all the difference in having those truly unforgettable experiences, doesn't it?